Welcome back to the channel, guys. This video is all going to be about this SPI epoxy primer. Heard some really good things about it. I've never tried it for myself. I'm not sponsored by them. So we're going to spray some of this out on some bare steel and see how she performs. Like I said, I've never used this product before, so this is the first time for me, and I'm going to share it with you guys. Stick around. All right. One of the most important things, if you've never used a product before, check out the technical data sheet. So this is off the SPI Southern Polyurethane website. Just going to go through this real quick. Let's see, SPI epoxy primer is one of the finest available, great for use in any type of metal if properly sanded and cleaned. This epoxy eliminates the need for an acid etch primer. Use this epoxy on bare fiberglass or SMC before applying body fillers or 2K primers for best long-term results. So it's a 1-to-1 mix, pretty simple, equal parts. 1 part epoxy, 1 part activator, 30-minute induction. If you guys don't know what that means, you mix them together in a cup or what have you, and you stir them up, and you need to let it sit for 30 minutes before you use it. This is fairly common on a lot of epoxies. 4 hours of induction needed for maximum UV holdout if black epoxy is left uncoated. Well, we're not doing that. Let's see, if reducing the epoxy, induce it for 30 minutes. Well, we're not going to be reducing our epoxy either. When you first open the epoxy, it's very important to make sure that all settling of the bottom of the can is mixed up very well with a paint stick. If not mixed properly, you can destroy the epoxy. Paint shakers do not perform well with settled epoxy, so always use a paint stick to remove them. Use a paint stick first, then move to the paint shaker. We strongly recommend when you activate the epoxy to stir and mix very well before letting it sit and induce for 30 minutes. Stir once again before spraying, and the longer you wait between spraying your coats, the epoxy, the better. Okay, we got a 72 to 120 hour pot life. Prepping the surface. Always sand with 80 grit for bare steel, metal. Sand with 180 to 320 for paint or primer. Metal must be clean of all rust, oils, and any films. Never clean metal with lacquer thinner, acetone. Clean surface with waterborne recent grass remover. Let sit for 45-60 minutes before applying. So they want to make sure all the solvents are out of the steel. That makes sense. If you have any questions on how to prep this type of substrate, please call Techline. So they do have a Techline available. Body fillers. On restoration, it's always best to apply the body fillers over the epoxy. Always best to apply the body filler over the epoxy. I know there's been some debate on that one, but here we go. On their technical data sheet, they say put the body filler on the epoxy rather than applying filler over bare metal for best adhesion and corrosion protection. So put the body filler on the epoxy. After applying 2 coats of epoxy, wait overnight before applying body filler. The epoxy does not need to be sanded before the body filler up to 7 days. So you have 7 days. Spray your epoxy and you have 7 days, and you can put your body filler right on top of it. You do not need to scuff it, according to this data sheet. If time allows, it's always best to apply a body filler over the epoxy after it's set for 24 to 48 hours. So they really want you to put it on there after a day or so. Don't drag it out to 7 days and then put your body filler on there. I know you probably can, but they probably don't want you to do that. If you choose to do the filler work over bare metal, the epoxy can be sprayed over the sanded body filler. So if you want to do it the other way, you can. Seam sealers are typically used over epoxy. Fiberglass filled fillers or other structural products are used before epoxy primer. Spray gun, recommended tip 1.4 to 1.5. It's basically your base clear gun. Remove any internal gun strainers. So we want to spray 2 wet coats for normal application. 2 wet coats for normal application. My mouse doesn't seem like it wants to work with me today. For special projects such as restoration, spray 1 coat and let it flash 30 minutes or longer at 70 degrees or higher. Then spray a second coat for maximum corrosion protection. For frames, we recommend 3 coats, to make sure you do not have any thin spots, as frames tend to be tougher to spray. You do not need to top coat our epoxy on frames, wheels, firewalls, or suspension components. Interesting. That's interesting. We got some for older Corvettes. I don't need to read all this, guys. This epoxy does not need to be sanded if it is primed within 7 days. So you do not have to sand this. If you're going to prime it, you got 7 days, and you can prime. You put a 2K primer over top of this, or a polyester. I'm assuming. There we go, polyester. Wait 48 hours. So you need a couple days before spraying your polyester primer. And for those unfamiliar with that, Evercoat makes them, a lot of your manufacturers have them. Slick sand, it's a polyester primer is what they're talking about here. Wet and dry sanding, if you need to sand a large area of epoxy, the epoxy will dry best after 12-16 hours. Wet sand with moderate pressure can be done after about 4 hours, depending on the amount of epoxy applied. So if you need to sand it, you can. Let's see, use it as a sealer. We're not doing that, but you can do that. Spray one wet coat only, so mix it 1-to-1, reduce it. Make sure you're in your temperature range. One wet coat of sealer. That's pretty common. Most sealers are only one coat. Cold weather. You guys can go on the website and read all this. Basically, don't spray this in cold temp. It will not help. It needs to be warm. If you have a heater in your shop, you need to warm up your shop. Basically, the metal temp. Let's see. Bottom line: car metal or primer contents cannot be kept at 60. If they cannot be kept at 65 degrees or higher, as well as shop temperature for the next 24 hours after spraying, do not spray it. So you got to have above 65 degrees. It's very important. OSPHO is the only rust treatment we recommend if needed under epoxy primer. So if you got some rust stuff, Southern Polyurethane only recommends OSPHO. I do have a video on OSPHO. We did not use this primer on the OSPHO in that video, but you guys can go check that out if you'd like, where I use some OSPHO as a metal prep. Neutralizing a soda blast vehicle. We're not doing that. We're not medium blasting. So that's pretty much it, guys, on this data sheet. If you want to go check it out, you can. I'm sure that you can find their website and go read through all this. But yeah, let's get into it. All right, we got our 3 metal panels. These are steel. I got them basically stripped down with 80 grit. I'm not 100% stripped yet. I'm going to come through here and clean all this little stuff up with the wire wheel, and then go back over it with 80 grit to make sure we got it prepped properly. And then we're going to spray all 3 panels. I would not recommend leaving your steel wire wheel like this, because it's more of a polished look, and that is not what you want when you're trying to prime something. You want some good old 80 grit scratches. And when we're stripping stuff down, I mean, obviously if you got a huge area, you can do it different ways, but if you got a little panel or whatever, we just use get you a large throw DA. And what I mean by that is, this is a 3/8 inch throw. So as it spins, it throws it pretty good, and that saves you some time. If you use a smaller throw, like more of a finishing DA, it takes a little longer. So I'm just gonna go back over these because I don't want any polished areas. I was going to just go ahead and throw this on the paint shaker, but I remember what the technical data sheet said. I needed to get all the gummies off the bottom and get it stirred up first. So, oh yeah, it's definitely settled on the bottom. See that? Look at all that. So I'm gonna try to get this mixed up first, and then we'll throw it on the shaker. to finish it off. All right, so everything says 1-to-1 ratio. So what I'm gonna do so everyone can follow is I'm gonna try to take it to the 5 with the epoxy and then take it to the 10 with the hardener. See if I can do this without making too much of a mess. Pretty close. Go ahead and clean this can off. So this is the activator. And like I said, we had a 5 on the epoxy, so I'm gonna go ahead and try to take it up to the 10. Actually, I'll put the cap back on. I'm just gonna give this a little shake as well. All right, let's take it up to the 10. About right there. Pretty close. Let's go ahead and stir them up. So if you remember on the data sheet, it said the induction time was 30 minutes. This is what they're referring to. You want to mix them together first, and then set a timer for 30 minutes. All right, I'm gonna go set a timer and get back with y'all in about 30 minutes. Just got a little stopwatch here. So when it reaches 30 minutes, I'll get ready for some spraying. I'll let it sit for about 15 minutes. I'm gonna stir it again, just to make sure we get a good induction. "32 minutes. This is the gun we'll be using. It's a Technopro Light. It has a 1.4 tip on it, so we should be good with that. Let's go spray. Got some pretty good weather outside, so figured that's where I'd spray it at. That's one coat down. So I got some fish eyes here. I know I greased and waxed and moved them, but hey, I'm not perfect, guys. I don't know whether I got where I got some contamination from, but we definitely got some in there. These 2 panels look pretty good though. Hey, that's why I got 3, in case I mess one up. Covered pretty well. Flows out nice for your base coat if you're gonna use it as a sealer. That's not too bad. So I'm letting these flash off, and then I'll put a second coat on them. All right, we're ready for round 2. I'm gonna cut my material in a little bit on this one. It seemed like it flowed out pretty quick last time. All right, that's 2 coats. I'm gonna let these flash off a little bit. I will pull them back inside and let them sit overnight, and we'll go from there. All right, it's been a little over 24 hours. They're good and dry. Just gonna show everybody the finish on this. It's a nice slick finish. Pretty standard on epoxy. I'm gonna save 2 of them. See what we want to do with those later. I'm gonna take the one that we had the fisheye problems with, and since it's 24 hours, I'm gonna go ahead and put some body filler on there, and we'll just see if it sticks. It should, but we're gonna check it out. Just got some Rage Gold. Go ahead and mix it up and put some on here. We're not going to scuff it or anything. "24 hours, no scuffing it, just epoxy primer, Rage Gold body filler." Let's see what we got. I got some Evercoat short strand fiberglass. I figured we're already trying some Rage Gold, might as well try this out too. In case anybody was interested. There, now we got a couple different filler choices for whatever repair project you're working on. I'm gonna go ahead and check the mill thickness and try to get an average just to see where we're at. I'm kind of curious. This is 2 coats. Oh, sorry guys. Two coats of SPI epoxy. Almost 2.4. 2.76. 2.3. 2.2. So somewhere between 2 and 2.5 mils. I'd say that's pretty good. All right, y'all know what time it is. I got tools of the trade here. Let's see what sticks and what doesn't. Might reposition this. Start with the Rage Gold. All right guys, I'm back with another panel. Remember we had 3. It's been 48 hours. So I've let this epoxy cure out for 48 hours. And I've done enough of these tests where I figured I'd go ahead and invest in a actual adhesion test kit. I'm not sure why they want you to use this cheaper tape, but anyways. So basically we're gonna score it, and based on what sticks and what doesn't, we'll be able to determine this adhesion to this steel. So I'm gonna go ahead and give it a try. Might do a couple different spots. So see if I can get you guys to see that. See the crosshatch pattern. I'm gonna try it first with this yellow tape. See what we get. All right, let's see what we got. That was pretty good. We'll try their tape. Guys, that to me is a solid. That is real good. Nothing came off anywhere. That's pretty good. So that's the official adhesion testing method. I'll try my old method here just to. Oh, just for a laugh. See what we got. There we go. Nothing. That's some good adhesion. I think there's only one thing to say about this test. SPI Epoxy Primer performs very well. That is a plus. Good job. All right, this is day 3, and we got the final panel here. I'm just going to do a little sanding test on it. I just want to see how it sands. I know we only got a couple mils to work with, but we'll just kind of see how it sands with 400. Guys, this thing powders up pretty good. I thought for a second there it was going to clog up the paper, but it's not. And you got a little crust on the top. This is what I thought was going to clog up the paper, but it's really not. Yeah, that's pretty good. Most of the time, you know, your epoxies are not meant to be sanded. But I mean, this thing powders up good, so yeah, you shouldn't have any problems if you wanted to sand this thing down. Obviously, it's not a thick mill build for like a high build primer, but if you wanted to smooth something out, if you got some trash in it or whatever before you painted it, sands pretty good. I got some old 180. Just out of curiosity. This is the adhesion test panel. So this is what you would normally find on your epoxy at gumming up. But that's not gumming up though. Definitely a plus on the sandability. All right, guys, let's wrap this video up. Let's go over a couple quick points and tell you what I think about everything. First off, it's easy to mix. It's 1-to-1. It's kind of hard to mess that up. So it's 2 equal parts. It sprays really nice. So if you had to get, if you want to use it as a sealer, it lays down very smooth. And this wasn't even reduced. So if you reduced it, I can only imagine it being even smoother. So sprayability is good. It's easy to mix. Adhesion, 100%. I had no issues with adhesion with this product. It performed very well. Sandability. You can sand this primer. It didn't seem to gum up the paper. It powdered up real well, so you can feather something out, sand it nice and smooth before you want to put your paint on it. So that's a plus. Now, the mill build, it was roughly 2.5 mils. So it's not like a high build primer, but it does give you enough to, if you wanted to sand something out. I think the 2.5 mils is good for even if you had a blasted profile. I mean, if you can imagine your peaks and valleys with a blasted profile, if you only had 0.5 mil, you know, it might barely cover the top of your peaks. So, you know, your mill build here would be far less than here, if you can microscopically think about that. Whereas 2 mils, you get good coverage over both. So 2.5 mils is good. Body filler. It's stuck on there very well, even where I hit it from the backside. Rage Gold stuck pretty good, even where I bent it. You know, obviously nothing's gonna stick whenever you destroy it like we did here. I've proven that in the past. But from a adhesion standpoint, this performed very well. I'm a little iffy on the fiberglass filler, but if you remember in the data sheet, any of your fiberglass stuff, it suggested to put it on first before the epoxy. I wanted to try this out, just, you know, to see what happens. It did pull away here pretty good. As you can tell, this area and this area, even where I hit it with a hammer, it just didn't seem like it performed as well as, say, your body filler. So, but I mean, we did it just to try it. I mean, it's not bad, but I guess your fiberglass stuff, I would probably stick to the bare steel on that one. But for body fillers, good. I have nothing bad to say about this product. I'm very impressed. Seems like a very good product, reasonably priced, I believe. For all the DIY guys out there, nothing wrong with this. I like it. So I hope this video helps, guys. Let me know what y'all think. I'm sure a lot of people out there have used SPI epoxy. Comment below, tell me what your successes or failures have been. I don't imagine there being too many failures because this seems like a very good product. But yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Hit that subscribe button. I appreciate it.